Welcome. All right. My central message today is that everything is spiritual. Now, I'll explain what all that means. Obviously, somehow you were attracted to the video and you wanted to understand what it means. So I'm just going to jump right into it. My name is Oni Onyabor, and yeah. So, what do I mean when I say everything is spiritual? Now, typically, when we look at the world, we are perceiving a physical world, right? So, physical is defined as anything that can be seen, touched, tasted, smelt, or heard, right? So, obviously, the five physical senses. I'm going to use this paper, and hopefully, that'll make sense here. But yeah, see, you have physical there at the bottom. So, what you're perceiving when you see the world, when you walk down the street, when you look up into the sky, you're perceiving things through your physical senses. Now, majority of the world, right, whether they know it or not, only really looks at life and perceives life through these five senses. That, however, is why there's so much chaos in life because a majority of reality, as we live within it, is actually non-physical, right? So what do I mean when I say it's non-physical? Well, the physicality, if you look at this diagram over here of the universe, I put that there's essentially three levels. There's spiritual, there's mental, and then there's physical. But really everything starts spiritually. And if you want to look at it in terms of how it compares, it's kind of like an iceberg. A majority of what happens and what you see and what is occurring around you is spiritual forces at play. Then you see this tiny little bit that is mental forces based within the ideas of the mind. And then finally, we see it show up in the physical world. And now you might be thinking, what's an example of that, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't perceive anything before it happens physically. Well, then I'll say, for instance, I'll say the word apple, right? Now, chances are you thought of an apple, right? Now, if we had said that it was a fruit, right? I would say like, yeah, of course, like you're thinking about the word apple as a fruit. But then if I also said I wasn't thinking about Apple the fruit, but I was thinking about Apple the company, right? You would realize like, okay, both things are true, but the idea in your mind was different than the word I used, which was different than the idea you had in your head. And it's because when you really fundamentally start spoking out, you start realizing that things exist as entities in and of themselves as these ideas or concepts. A really good idea is a good example of that is a business like Apple. Apple is a business. A business is an organization of a bunch of people working together, right? Now that physically manifests in things like products like the iPhone being created and, an Apple stores being built up. But when you actually think about what it is, it's an organization. And an organization is an idea and a structure that exists within the minds of originally it was just a few people. I know Steve Jobs was one of the original founders. I can't remember the other guys' names. But it existed within those guys' minds. And then they built it out. But it only became real because they were able to get other people invested in it and other people to fill out those roles. So really, it's just a concept of about how a bunch of people move together to build and distribute physical products. But that's something that's very real, right? Like when we talk about Apple or Amazon or these different companies, we see shadows or physical representations of these things, but these physical representations are not the thing themselves. So for instance, like if I were to destroy an Apple store, do I destroy Apple? If I were to destroy Apple headquarters, would I destroy the headquarters? A lot of it is an idea that exists within the minds of people, right? And so these people then become sort of the energetic counterpoint, the energetic origin of this thing that is Apple or this thing that is a company. And so everything functions like that, right? And so now you might be like, okay, well, that's a company. Does a tree work the same way? And I'm here to tell you it does. But the thing is, instead of originating in the mind of a CEO like a company, it originated within the mind of what you would call source or God or whatever you want to call it, just this ultimate intelligence. And then it was like it was created or manifested or showed up. I'm trying to stay away from the word manifestation because I feel like it comes with all manner of evils and misunderstandings. But basically, that tree was created in the mind of God and then showed up as a tree. And so everything in the world functions like that. Now you might be like, okay, well, why does any of this matter? Why is any of this important? Well, it matters and is important because like you also live in that universe and there's nothing you can do to separate yourself from it. And so if you find yourself that you're often frustrated or you don't know why things happen or you're struggling, the reason is because fundamentally you're not following or living according to the laws of the game we're playing, the universe we're living in. And so the idea is that as you start to learn and understand those laws at deeper and deeper levels, you'll be able to live it more fully. And it's my goal and my support idea that to teach and share and demonstrate these laws. And that's what I feel like is my purpose here on the planet to do. So that's what I'm going to start doing. So if this is your first time with me, great. You're going to start seeing more content like this. If this is not, you're going to see a lot of vlog type videos and a lot of other stuff. Yeah, it's about to get really weird for you if you have a different expectation of me. Now there's like 80 people who are subscribed to my channel, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, really we're just going to start talking about this and how we can then use these laws to create results in our life. Because someone who I like to watch on YouTube, his name's Nero, he says a really, really good line that spirituality without the ability to control your reality is vanity. And that's so true. And the basic definition of that which is spiritual, I realize I have been using that word, but I haven't defined it, is essentially that which is beyond the five senses. A lot of the times when we hear the word spirituality, we think it has something to do with our morality or our goodness or whatever. That's not really it. You can be spiritual and be a totally terrible person, and you can be spiritual and be very non-spiritual, very materialistic, and you can be what people would characterize as a moral person, right? It doesn't really matter. It's really about how effectively you're moving within reality and which are the laws and basis upon which you build your framework of reality. So anyway, that is about as messy a video as I can. My goal over the next 90 days is to basically take this concept and troubleshoot explaining it better and better and better. And if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below so that I can address those questions in the next video and then just get better at explaining and sharing this stuff, because I know quite a lot about it, but something I've learned, especially with the universal law, is that you can't just go teaching it without a question in mind. And right now I don't know what questions I need to address specifically for me and you guys and what's relevant to anybody watching this. So if one person watches this and has a relevant question and wants to ask it, I will answer it. Yeah, so that's it. So like, comment, subscribe, and come back for day 2 of Everything is Spiritual. Peace.